Love story or history's most famous kidnapping? Victim or queen?
The story of Persephone and Hades has always been one of powerful contradictions.
The popular myth paints a clear picture of a victim.
Now, what if that's only the surface of the story? What if the tale we all know hides a more complicated truth about Persephone's power, her role, and her choice?
But where has this truth been hiding? Why did
Thousands of people manage to keep one single secret for thousands of years?
The answer lies in an ancient ritual, protected by a sacred vow of silence, and, let's be honest, also probably a good assassin's guild.
I'm talking about the Eleusinian mysteries. But what exactly were the Eleusinian mysteries? To put simply, they were the most revered, the most sacred, and the most enduring of all religious rites in ancient Greece. The entire ceremony was built around one story: the journey of Persephone into the underworld and her eventual return. Everybody could participate: men, women, slaves, foreigners, as long as they spoke Greek fluently and they hadn't murdered anybody.
The list of initiates reads like a who's who of Western civilization. It included everyone from the playwright Sophocles and the philosopher Plato
to our dear friend Pausanias, but also Roman emperors like Marcus Aurelius, Hadrian, or Commodus.
This spiritual journey that attracted so many wasn't a chaotic affair. It was a highly structured path.
What we do know is that they were divided into greater Eleusinian mysteries and lesser Eleusinian mysteries.
Held in Agrae, a suburb outside the ancient city walls of Athens, the lesser mysteries were a preliminary ceremony to prepare the initiates so that
they knew what to do then in Eleusis.
And then, in September, the initiates would gather once more in the bustling heart of Athens
to begin the great event, the one that truly mattered, the greater mysteries.
To understand what they were preparing for, we must follow the path to its destination, the Telesterion at Eleusis.
And so, with the Acropolis at our backs, let's start on the sacred way connecting the city of Athens to Eleusis, where the greater mysteries took place.
No walking procession with chanted paeans for me today.
Let's switch mode of transportation and let's get ourselves to Eleusis. And yet I am finally in Eleusis,
ready to start my own mystical journey. And that journey cannot begin without understanding the event that sanctified this very ground. The one piece of the puzzle that was never a secret.
I can tell you a story, because if there is one thing we know about these mysteries, is what myth they ritually represented. And this is one of the most famous myths in ancient antiquity, the myth of the abduction of Persephone. Now, the story goes like this. One day, Persephone, spring goddess, daughter of Zeus, the king of the gods, and his sister, Demeter, the earth goddess, was frolicking in a meadow, looking at flowers, being all cute and young. What she didn't know, though, was that while she was looking at flowers, somebody else was looking at her. Hidden in the shadows, in the liminal space between this world and the underworld, stood Hades, king of hell, brother of Zeus, the unconquerable, according to the ancient Greeks, for there's nothing that can conquer death. He, the king of the dead, had fallen madly in love with the goddess of life, little young Persephone. The fact that she was his niece, being the daughter of both his brother and his sister, didn't matter much to Hades. He was in love.
You would think that the smartest thing to do when in love was to talk directly to the other person, right?
But common sense looks different when you're an ancient god, and so Hades did none of these things. What he did, though, was actually go talk to his brother, Persephone's father, Zeus. Hades told Zeus,
I have fallen madly in love with Persephone, and I want her, and only her, as my wife.
like any good ancient father faced with a good prospect of marriage for his daughter, Zeus did the only possible thing.
I accept.
There was a slight problem, though, Zeus told his brother Hades.
Demeter, Persephone's mother, was never going to approve this match.
Today, we would probably describe Demeter as the perfect textbook example of helicopter parenting.
Which meant there was only one thing to do for Hades. He had to kidnap Persephone and then bring her to his own realm.
Dumb deal, not even Demeter could actually protest. And so this was exactly what Hades did.
As Persephone was admiring a beautiful Narcissus, Hades seized her and vanished back into the underworld.
The ancient world has a way of forgetting women. Sure, the abduction had gone flawlessly. Hades had a new wife, Zeus had a new son-in-law at this point. But they were both forgetting Demeter. So when Persephone failed to turn up at the end of the day, Demeter panicked. For 9 days and 9 nights, she scoured the earth, crying for Persephone, desperately calling her name.
It didn't matter who she asked. No one had seen anything. Her daughter has simply vanished.
With no one else to turn to, Demeter finally went to Zeus, desperately asking him if he from Olympus had seen what had happened to their daughter. And Zeus, bronze-faced liar that he was, told Demeter that he didn't know anything.
In the end, it was Hecate, goddess of the night, who took pity on Demeter. She told her to ask Helios, god of the sun, who was sure to have seen something from his chariot in the sky, and Helios had seen it all. The vanishing of young Persephone into the underworld. His tale, though, was concluded with a cruel warning.
Forget about her. Your daughter is in the underworld. You'll never see her again.
Now Demeter knew the truth. Zeus had sold his own daughter and had lied to her face about it. Angry, Demeter stormed Olympus to confront Zeus, but the king of the gods dismissed her, the matter already settled.
Persephone is not coming back.
Realizing she had truly lost her daughter forever, Demeter abandoned the mountain, vowing never to return.
Turning herself into a mortal-looking older woman, Demeter roamed the earth, desperate, until she stopped here, in Eleusis, where the king and the queen of the city offered her a place as a nurse of the new prince, Demephon.
In the mortal child, Demeter's grief saw a perverse opportunity. A replacement for the daughter she had lost. She began a secret ritual to forge him into a god. But one night, the queen of Eleusis interrupted the ritual, and the gift of immortality was gone forever. Demeter was incensed. Yet another child taken from her. She transformed back into a goddess and cursed the land to wither and die. The king and queen of Eleusis immediately prostrated themselves in front of the goddess, praying she would be merciful and forgive them.
Seeing their panic, Demeter relented.
You will build me a temple,
and worship me.
The people of Eleusis hastened to do her bidding, hoping they would be spared the winter they could see coming in around them. Demeter withdrew herself in the new temple, watching as the world withered and the mortals died. She was mourning. Now the world would mourn with her.
Well, after 1 year of being here in Eleusis, Demeter is visited by Zeus, who's come down from Olympus in person to talk to her.
Demeter, please, you must return.
Demeter is the goddess of the earth. She is the one blessing the earth, blessing the mortals, so that things grow and the mortals are fed.
But in her indescribable grief, Demeter had actually cursed the land to wither and die.
And that was what prompted Zeus to come down from Olympus fairly quickly and in person. Mortal starving meant no offerings to the gods. No offerings meant that the gods were sort of being forgotten. And Zeus did not buy that.
Demeter's answer was rather final. No Persephone, no offerings.
The father of the gods was caught between a very hard rock and a very hard place. On one hand, he had already given permission for Hades to marry Persephone, and the rule of the underworld was that once in, never getting out. On the other, mortals were dying. Offerings weren't coming anymore. Zeus needed to act fast.
Knowing that the key to convincing Demeter was to give back Persephone, Zeus went to beg Hades to release his wife.
Zeus was very sorry, but seriously, things were dire enough to warrant this kind of intervention. Much to Zeus's surprise, Hades agreed immediately to send Persephone back up.
And so a meeting was called in Olympus so that everyone could see Persephone returned.
On the day of the meeting, though, it became clear to everybody why Hades hadn't put up more of a fuss when asked to return his wife.
As Demeter made to grab Persephone, she realized her daughter was still tethered to the underworld.
Just before giving her back, Hades had given Persephone some pomegranate seeds to eat, thus binding her soul to the underworld, because as the rule went, those who ate the food of the underworld were bound to the underworld forever. In the end, a compromise was reached.
Persephone had eaten only 4 pomegranate seeds, meaning that she needed to spend only 4 months every year with Hades.
The rest of the time, she could spend on Earth with her mother. To say that Demeter wasn't pleased is the understatement of the century. But in the end, a compromise was struck.
For 4 months, the world darkened as Persephone ruled the underworld with her husband. And then it bloomed again as she returned to Earth and to her mother. We're taught that Persephone's absence causes the biting cold of winter. But what if these dead months when nothing grows aren't in reality the summer months? Given the burning temperatures of Athens in August 2025, I can certainly see the sense in this theory. And so the world had gone back to its proper rhythm. The mortals weren't dying, and the gods were not forgotten anymore. All's well what ends well, right?
But how did Persephone feel?
Was she merely a pawn in this drama? A victim dragged back and forth between worlds? Or was she really a queen in her own right? Maybe that's exactly what the Eleusinian mysteries were all about. Yes, they were born out of Demeter's grief, but they also celebrated Persephone's passage. Just look at when they were celebrated. Spring and autumn, perfectly sandwiching those summer months when the heat makes nothing grow. Another interesting detail is the presence in Eleusis of a sanctuary dedicated to Hades. They are called Plutonia, and they are few and far between because, after all,
Who would really worship the god of the underworld? According to the rituals, this is the place from where Persephone would come into the underworld and come out of the underworld every year. What if the Eleusinian mysteries revealed what the public myths concealed?
a Persephone who wasn't a victim of her fate, but the queen of two kingdoms. A truth now lost to us because, well, Assassin's Guild, do you remember?
You might ask, what about all those important people who participated in the mysteries? Even Cicero, who cannot shut up on the things he cares about, won't write a word about them.
The closest we get is with our friend Pausanias, who starts his explanation only to conclude it like this. My dream forbade me to describe what is within the wall of the sanctuary, and surely it is clear that the uninitiated may not lawfully hear of that from the sight of which they are debarred.
Like, seriously? Archaeologists and historians hope that somehow, somewhere, something has survived the divine order of silence. But we don't know anything yet.
And maybe we will never know.